Viewers, there are fault lines around the world, and this is the show that is going to uncover the truth behind every one of those fault lines. And the deepest such runs through the Israel-Gaza issue, the war that has been ongoing since Hamas butchered over 1,200 Israelis on the 7th of October 2023, took 250 Israelis as hostage. Since then, Israel has vowed to eliminate Hamas, the terrorist organization that actually started this. But since then, there's also been a regime change in the US. There's now Donald Trump, who wants to end this war. He has not been able to, because there are also many moving parts to this. In fact, he has backed Israel, but only so much. And now, sensing Washington's shifting stance, Netanyahu is hoping to make gains on ground, on Gaza military, before actually ensuring that those peace talks become more productive. But wars have consequences, viewers. They have consequences for people, for children. And this is the report that tells you how the renewed ground assault in Gaza, which is aimed to have better diplomatic wins on peace talks on a negotiating table, hurts the most where it does. Children, take a look at this report.
Amid stalled ceasefire talks and fading support from Washington, a threatened Prime Minister Netanyahu expanded Israel's large-scale offensive across Gaza to take over the enclave, even if all that's left is a pile of rubble. The war that began almost 2 years ago has left nothing except destroyed cities, dead bodies buried under rubble, and shattered dreams of a life that could have been. Yet, for the past 3 months, Israel was fighting a war beyond missiles and attacks. One that doesn't hurt pockets, where people die slowly and silently. Israel waged a war of hunger. According to a UN agency, 9 out of 10 children in Gaza are at risk of famine due to the ongoing blockade. People of all ages, from infants to pregnant women, all have been reported to have been suffering from some form of malnourishment, with some resorting to eating animal food and even flour mixed with sand. Finally, after 11 weeks, the first trickle of aid finally entered Gaza on Monday. G7 countries, UK, France and Canada condemned Netanyahu's escalation, demanding for an immediate ceasefire, calling for immediate action to end Israel's aid blockade. Netanyahu's playing the double game, trying to appease Washington by signaling he's ready for a truce, all while trying to seize control of the enclave. It remains to be seen what Trump 2.0's next moves will be after a Middle East trip which did not have a Tel Aviv hop.
So how did we actually reach here? A war that started on the 7th of October 2023 looked like some positive gains were being made in terms of some sort of a settlement, but here we are, probably furthest away from peace than when it all started. And the reason for that is the power play that is underway in Middle East, and exactly what we now need to decode. Let's put out some of those details for you to understand what exactly is the power play in the Middle East that is impacting why peace is not taking place. So on one end, you have Donald Trump, who's wooing Arab leaders. He's putting business at the forefront of his entire negotiation when it comes to the Middle East. And of course, billions and billions of dollars of contracts are being signed. Remember, he had a very successful Middle East trip that included UAE, it included Qatar, which has been pretty much the masterminds, or at least the main funders and backers of Hamas. Qatar was there, UAE was there, and of course KSA, that is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, but what is happening? US has lifted sanctions on Syria and has left Israel completely out of when it comes to those Syria talks. That is extremely important because he's mainstreamed al-Shara's regime. 6 months back, he was a global terrorist with $10 million of bounty on his head. Let's move ahead. Some of the other important aspects. Well, he's also ensured that he's cut a deal with Yemen's Houthis, again leaving Israel completely out of it. So you can see what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to find some sort of possible ways to cut deals, reach some peace truce possible in the region without having Israel at the center of it. And that's most important. And now what else has happened is that while these truce deals does not include Israel, there have also been complete ignorance as far as the Israel-Iran hostilities that have taken place. Why? Because there is some negotiation taking place between US and Iran on nuclear possibilities. Is there a nuclear pact in the offing? No one knows. But the fact that those are progressing, those talks are progressing, keeping Israel completely out is something that needs to be kept in mind to understand the fault line that has happened. And lastly, the delay tactics that Israel has been coming out with has been ignored as deals have been cut to ensure American hostages have been released. The last of the American hostages, viewers, was actually released just before Donald Trump embarked on his Middle East tour. That, of course, was pressure tactics, with Qatar ensuring that their final last American hostage was released. No word on the 59 Hamas. We're going to come back to that because that's important. That's where it started. But this is the context to understand why there is a complete shift in the power dynamics that have actually taken place in the Middle East. You have Donald Trump isolating Netanyahu, and at this stage, it almost looks like there is a possibility of this not moving ahead till the time there is a breakthrough as far as talks are concerned. What those will be is something that we're going to wait and watch out for. But I want to now quickly run you through the the other segment, which we call blinkers off, viewers, which is that, make no mistake, this is a war that Hamas started on the 7th of October, and now it is wanting to end the war on its own terms too, which of course cannot happen because there are, as I said, 60 Israelis held in captivity in Gaza by Hamas in the most inhuman conditions that are possible. And unless those hostages are released, there is no deal on the table. And that's Netanyahu's message to Hamas all along. But in 19 months, something has changed. Because as that message he's trying to put out louder and clearer, Netanyahu has upped the ante with a ground assault in a region that's been battered by war. We played out some of those visuals, didn't we, viewers? And images of children dying of possible starvation is a global PR disaster that no ally will back Netanyahu on. One can, of course, discard some of those statistics. They are the statistics put forth by Hamas. They will, of course, be exaggerated. But no matter what the number may be, that is an image that no ally will back Netanyahu on. Certainly not Trump, who has been frustrated by lack of progress in the peace settlement talks. The fact that Netanyahu is now getting increasingly more isolated is something that needs to be now kept into mind whenever there is some peace talks take place. He's now maybe forced to open aid because starvation concerns will have to be addressed. But will that end the ground assault? Answer, unfortunately, may not be a resounding yes, viewers. And that is the crux of the issue. It will end when the hostages return. And Netanyahu, unfortunately, now he needs to understand that he has limited options. A frustrated Trump administration is engaging with all stakeholders, excluding Israel, excluding Tel Aviv. A disinterested America will mean few takers for Bibi's military assaults and expose Netanyahu for greater global censure. The EU suspending trade with Israel could be the beginning for more actions as that outrage increases. Why? Because of those visuals. Netanyahu must make way for more aid, bring the focus back on the 59 Israelis with hope of their return dwindling every single day.